Hey everybody, this is Cyphus here with a quick note about today's episode. So we recorded the Q&A yesterday utilizing a new recording technique. Actually a very old recording technique that we've used before, if I'm being honest. It was intended to get a better bit of sound quality out of Ursi for the Q&A because we've been doing a lot of recordings in a pretty particular way to capture the listener audio that we get. Unfortunately, because we tried to do that or tried to implement that, we got through the recording and realized we didn't have any of the listener audio. Well, thankfully, we do this show live. So, I was able to pull the audio from the stream, so if you're noticing any slight imperfections in the audio this time around, just know that, it couldn't be there. That could be the potential, or that was the one possible outcome, was that it just didn't even happen this episode. So thankfully, we were able to at least recover that. Next week, we'll have the more superior audio for Ursi, for Roland, and include all of the listener audio as well. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you guys enjoy this Tuesday Q&A. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the show. Alright, I'm hopping over to the waiting room. I'll be listening to you on Twitch. Okay.
Hello all and welcome to Tuesday Q&A. I am your host, Roland. With me today, my expert, Ursinity. Ursinity, how are you?
I'm unprepared for this question, but otherwise good. I don't have any snazzy response.
Usually you have like dandy, grandiose.
Grand. It's really just those two, honestly, because like I can like have good responses to like people's parents or whatever when they ask me that twice. And they're like, "Oh wow, you said grand. That's nice."
Oh wow,
but,
yeah,
like,
we talked about this before though.
But like past that, I'm like, I don't know. I'm good. I'm okay. I'm doing well.
I wonder what my go-to is. Usually it's I find it super impolite of me when people ask me, do you want any of this? Or, hey, I'm making, this for dinner. And I say, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I say that all the time.
That's like, that's like rude, nah.
Well, yeah. That's all about
I'm good. I'm good.
I usually say like, I'm all right. Instead of, nah, I'm good. I'm just like, I'm all right. But it really is a tonal thing, right? If you say like, no, I'm good. That's like,
I think it is tonal.
Like, nah, I'm good. That's like a please leave me alone.
Talk about please leave me alone. Okay, I'm gonna say some stuff and hope it's not going to be heard. Okay, by a select few people.
Venue to do that.
Maybe this will be dug up in the archives, but before my in-laws really start, like maybe listening to this, maybe not. Holy shit! Was that? That wasn't a vacation. That was...
Yeah.
I just need a moment.
You need to decompress.
It was... Okay. So, Vegas. An adult's playground. I love poker. I talk about poker all the time. I am literally trapped in a house for 4 days. My highlight was when TMZ came on, and I hate TMZ, okay? Literally, we were watching Lifetime channel, okay?
Yeah.
Caught up on a few soaps going on there. Not interested in that type of television, I'll say that much. I was basically sleep deprived because I flew down there, and I just took care of the baby because my wife had been. And I was just like, I got nights. And then I got shit for like sleeping until noon, which noon in Vegas is like 11. No, actually, that would be 1 p.m. So anyway, I'm used to sleeping in way late anyway. And so I've got like 6 people. There's 6 dogs at this house. Audrey's mom has 4 dogs. And anytime the TV, which apparently TVs do this with cable, they make a ding-dong sound, okay, like a doorbell. Fucking 6 dogs heard through the house. Baby wakes up crying. And I have to defuse the situation. For 4 days, I was trapped, and the house was hot because it's her grandma's house, and they keep it at a comfortable 78 degrees. Try sleeping in 78 degrees. Ugh.
I don't plan on it. That sounds like not a vacation. You're right.
It was so horrible. And the baby would wake up, and that was my only respite, was like the baby would wake up, and I'd be like, thank God, like I can go out and watch whatever I want on the TV while I'm putting the baby to sleep. But of course, the only channels, which I don't watch TV. I watch, YouTube.
You're a man of the future.
Yeah, I watch YouTube. I watch Twitch. I watch, that's where I get my media. HBO Go, HBO Now, Netflix, that type thing. No, there's none of that. There's like nothing. Okay, just nothing on TV. And really, the crying baby was the best part of the whole thing. I mean, it was great to see my son because it's been like 5 days without him. But I mean, just some people that and the rain. It was raining in Vegas. Everybody in the fucking world talked about it, and it was oh my God, this rain. Oh my God, this rain. No conversation had any substance. My wife was mad at me because it was embarrassing that I was sleeping all day. And it was like, I'm sure it is embarrassing that I'm sleeping all day, but I'm up all night with the baby while you're snoring. I didn't know my wife snored. She snores.
It seems
I've never been up.
You should have known.
I've just never really noticed it. She snores super loud. The baby is like making sounds all night, and I'm sitting there in a 78-degree room with nothing to do on an old-ass mattress, and the internet's choppy, and the laptop light is too bright for my wife. It keeps waking her up, and so, like, it was prison. I went for the first time to jail and or prison for 4 whole days. I feel better now, though. I got home, I lost 2 games of Dota, and I was happy about it.
I mean, that sounds like a pleasant change of pace. I mean, it's better than prison. I've been to prison before, but let's move on and answer some questions.
Like you visiting?
Yeah, no. I took a criminal law class and I visited Sing Sing.
You made that sound like you were hardcore, and I was like,
I know, that's the joke. I'm like barely eligible to go to prison. I went to visit Sing Sing in New York, and like I met a bunch of like it was like a Scared Straight.
You went to visit Sing Sing?
Yeah, like the prison in New York.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Sing Sing.
No, not the stream.
And I was like, wow, you know him?
Yeah.
He's so good at Dota.
It was fun. It was illuminating on the many problems in our criminal justice system, rather. Anyway, let's answer questions.
That's what we go ahead and read one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to read one. Okay. So we're just going to jump right into it. Okay. I'm from Australia. This is from Bert. I'm from Australia and will be at work while the show is being filmed. I have a question for the panel, though. If Dragonlance was removed from the game, how drastically would it change the meta? Is there any other single item, not including cheap items like Raindrop, that if removed would completely change the meta? So
you get to read and answer? Don't you think that should
you can answer. Please, go for it.
Yeah. Absolutely would Dragonlance change the meta. I mean, look at Luna wouldn't be top tier.
Yeah.
I mean, Dragonlance was a big thing for her. Think about Hurricane Pike on all those heroes. You need a Dragonlance to get the Hurricane Pike. I can't think of a single item other than the cheap items like Raindrops or something like that have been so drastic to meta. What else? I mean, I know there's a million other heroes that I'm forgetting here, but I feel like Luna got like the number 1 Dragonlance award.
Sniper. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's an item that if they took it out, it would really hurt a lot of specific heroes, but a lot of the heroes would still be able to be okay. It would just make them less top tier, like Roland said with Luna specifically. Like Weaver, for instance. Weaver is very good, and like Dragonlance helps Weaver a lot, but at the same time, Weaver would still be ballpark the same hero if Dragonlance were not in the game. Similarly like Sniper, right? Like Sniper would be more or less the same without Dragonlance. It's just when you add the Dragonlance in, it makes him that much better.
Yeah. I think Razor is another example of this. Razor would be pretty much the same. Viper, it would hurt Viper for sure, but Viper would still win every mid matchup. I mean,
like Shadow Fiend.
Shadow Fiend
can live without it, but he likes having it.
Yeah, it's good strength. It's good agi. I mean,
and And when you factor in that if you took Dragonlance out, you'd be taking Hurricane Pike out, that in turn hurts heroes like Vengeful Spirit that buy the Force Staff, and then when they have the money late game, they're like, oh hey, sure, maybe I'll just get a Dragonlance.
Yeah. What about Meepo? That's the one that is like a melee hero that Dragonlance would hurt. What would Meepo replace it with, do you think?
You just go the old Meepo style, I think, where you just go like straight Ags, like Ags, Blink, Scythe, E-Blades.
Oh, okay.
Or like Ags, Scotty, Scythe, E-Blades, something like that. Or maybe Bloodthorn nowadays.
Yeah, Bloodthorn's...
No, you'd go Scythe for the stats.
Yeah, oh man, there's nothing worse with a Scythe.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than Meepo, just period. The other thing I would... to answer the second question, so what item... if removed, would be similarly impactful. I think the easy answer is Blink Dagger. If they removed Blink Dagger, that would be ridiculous. The game would just be terrible and like unplayable for certain heroes. Force Staff, similarly. If you remove any of those mobility items, that would really hurt people. Shadow Blade, yeah, that would be another big one.
I mean, could you imagine removing Battle Fury in 6.88 before Maelstrom got incredible? Yeah. Or like Desolator. I mean, Desolator is like an item built for like a core set of heroes.
How about
that would
this?
Be catastrophic.
How about this to add on to this question? I think there's an easy answer, so we can't say Halberd for this question, okay?
Okay.
If you were to remove an item and have the least impact, and what item would you remove? I would probably like
Sanj.
Well, Sanj and Yasha though is pretty good.
But they could do without it. Like the Bloodseekers that build Sanj and Yasha, I don't know. I mean, Bloodseeker is the first that comes to mind for Sanj and Yasha.
Yeah.
God, who else? I know there's like a select few. Omni Knight, I know like carry Omni Knight builds Sanj and Yasha. I feel like you could just get rid of Sanj. Because like you've said on previous shows, you don't build a Yasha usually to get a Sanj and Yasha.
It depends. That's changing now after the Sanj and Yasha.
There's some buffs. Yeah, there is a buff on Sanj for sure.
I do think if I was just to remove an item without like... Yeah, I think if I was just going to remove an item and say... Gosh, that's hard. Maybe Mask of Madness.
Although you're seeing a little bit of resurgence. Had you said Mask of Madness in 688, I would have been like, dude, they already did. It's already removed. Like, what are you talking about? Nobody builds it.
Yeah. Halberd is definitely the correct answer to this question.
Halberd is
changed for Saint and Yasha, but it removes Halberd because who the heck built a Halberd?
Lotus in lower skills. I know that Lotus is really, really good, and like we see pro games where Lotus is like the deciding factor, right? But I feel like anything below 4K, and like I'm basically playing 4K. Like most of my averages are like 3850, so like I'm getting close enough to see still no Lotus orbs, like ever, unless somebody's like ding Lotus orb because there's a Tinker and there's a Lion and there's a this and there's a that and they're all single target Lotus orb, and then it's like Timber's like, okay, I'll get it 5th item, like that. It feels like Lotus orb is never like. Today, Denny and I were playing a game, and it was super smart of the other team where they rushed Orchid. Could you imagine what would happen if Orchid got removed? I mean,
I mean, people just go back to building Scythe all the time on heroes, but
I mean, Orchid's such a good item. This Lifestealer jungle rushed in Orchid against me being a Storm, and then a fellow listener named County, who was playing Anti-Mage, and that Orchid fucked us up. What is a better item against an Anti-Mage and a Storm than an Orchid?
A Scythe. But yeah.
But I mean for price. I mean, a Scythe's close to 6K, and an Orchid's like 4,400, and you can build slowly toward it. You know what I mean? You can get those Oblivion Staffs.
Yeah, no, you're right. So I mean, there's a lot of items. Like, Dota's so precariously balanced that there's a lot of items that it would hurt to take out.
For sure.
All right, let's pop in another question real quick.
Okay.
Let's see, I had a question in mind. What is the best equipment for Dota 2? I play with an MMO mouse and the Razor Orb Weaver. What do you use? This is Cam Handley, by the way, or Cam Bro in
an Discord. MMO mouse and a what?
And a Razor Orb Weaver. Do you know what an Orb Weaver is? It's like...
Is it one of those track?
No,
mouse?
Not a trackball. Oh, okay. Do you remember at TI what Toffee's was using?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Where like your left is your keyboard and your right is your mouse.
Yeah,
but it,
that's
still moves
not a
around.
But yeah,
but it's but you can do like your camera grip with that hand, which is pretty cool. Like your camera grip with your left hand, and then your actual moving around with your right hand. Damn, I don't know if you use those peripherals.
I have a friend that uses 2 of them, one for each hand. He was pretty into that for a while. I will say what I use is I just use a Razer Naga, the 12 buttons on the side, and then I use a old Razer keyboard that honestly I should be replacing, but I don't want to buy one, so that's it. I swear by the I swear by my Naga. Like, I don't think I'll ever use any mouse that has less than 12 keys on the side at this point in my like gaming career. I cannot imagine a world where I do. Mm-hmm. And that's just me. I know some people feel more strongly about like key bindings and stuff on the keyboard, but I'm so used to like having my thumb placed and like using those keys.
Sure. Well, if you sit on Santa's lap, you might get a new keyboard.
No.
Like I said, I use left mouse button, right mouse button, Q, W, E, R, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and T. And those are all the buttons I use in Dota 2. So,
are you serious?
Dead serious, yes. Oh, and spacebar. Oh, and spacebar to center camera.
Oh my god, Roland. I thought you're a StarCraft player. Shouldn't you have like a billion control groups and stuff? Like,
well, it was always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for control groups. And then StarCraft was really intuitive where if you click on, like, I click on a probe, E does something different on that probe. So I click on the probe, and then E means that he'll do this, or C means he'll build basic buildings, V means he'll build advanced buildings. If I click on a Marine, S means stim pack. So you just get used to what individual heroes' hotkeys are, or individual units' hotkeys are, sorry, not heroes. Uh-huh. So really you didn't need to mess with controls. Matter of fact, the like camera sensitivity mattered.
Well,
and
I mean, it wasn't. I'm not even talking about that, but I'm just talking about like, do you not have control group keys? This is
It would be shift 1 through 5 would be control group.
Oh, so do you use shift as like an alternate for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
So shift, like I'd box a bunch of Marines and I'd shift 1, and then every time I press 1, I'd have a bunch of Marines.
But for Dota, right? Are you saying you don't?
I don't use control groups.
Oh my god, Roland, what are you doing, dude?
I tab through them. But
like, I use my control groups to move my camera around and like manage my things. Like for instance,
I don't do that.
Like, so if I were to say my full bindings, I have 5 of my item slots on my mouse, and then 1 item slot bound to keyboard. And then I use QWERDF for skills, and then I have tilde 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as my control group keys. And like, man, this is baffling to me. Now, like, you should use control groups, dude. You'll gain like 400 MMR right there.
So it's just I barely added. Actually, I have C too, because C is courier. But I still click the courier. I still click to level up. I still click to do all that. I
click to level up. Although I have it bound on my keyboard, but I prefer to, like, I misclick things too often if I do that.
Honestly, it's super basic. I think it requires me to have more APM though, because I have less keys, right? So more actions per minute on my mouse. But I don't know. I'm good at clicking on the mini map, I guess, to see things. Like, I'm constantly double clicking on not enemy heroes, allied heroes, to see where they're at. So my camera angles change, and then space to get back to center on hero.
Boy, okay. Yes, yeah, like, hero's my, like, 1 key is hero, and so if I just double-click 1, that brings me to my thing. So, like, I never have to double-click on my hero portrait to, like, recenter my camera.
Yeah, no, I don't use many. Mouse keys, can't do it. I bought a Naga for World of Warcraft way, way, way back. Like, the Naga had just come out, and I found myself never using it. So
yeah,
that's
why I got mine.
I use a Mamba, Razer Mamba, and then I use a Cooler Master keyboard, mechanical keyboard, which really I could use 1 finger and play Dota, honestly.
I know one of the things that I've always noticed
3 fingers.
is as much as I like my Naga and as much as it's efficient for me, most of the pros that I've seen when they show them in like things and stuff, they use mouses with usually, obviously, 2 buttons on the top, and then usually 2 to 4 on the side, and not like a ton. And then they use mostly key bindings on their keyboard. So I think there's an element of like, if you're being hyper efficient, you can like super maximize and like just have only the bare minimum keys on your mouse in like the perfect positions. But I think in general, it's more personal preference as to what's best.
I'd agree.
It was like that in WoW too. Like all the really top tier players were like, yeah, I just use like really intricate key bindings on my keyboard because your fingers are faster than your thumb navigating. But I don't
my
know,
thumb is like a lazy bitch, dude. Like I can't like if I were trying to feel around for 1 through 12, it'd be like, oh, 4, oh, there's 3, trying to get to 1, 2 more over. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be fast.
All right.
Anyway, we have a caller. It is
yes.
Jim Jimster. His MMR is 1950, a great year. Jim Jimster, sir, what is your question?
Hey, guys. So my question is actually kind of relevant to what you were just talking about. So it's kind of a mechanics question. So I suck at micro. And so my basic question is just what's the best way to learn / get good at micro-oriented heroes? So, for example, Visage or Beastmaster. And for me, even like Helm of the Dominator is almost intimidating just because there's an extra creep there. And so, usually I try and dominate just an aura creep. But,
yeah.
How can I get better at microing heroes and what's the best way to just get better in that area?
Right. So I think...
Good question.
This is a really good question. It's really applicable because I know a lot of people have issues with this. Kind of like a lot of people have issues with like they don't have more than like one item that you have to like one active item, especially like at newer players. Like that's kind of a burden to have multiple actives. I think the thing that helped me most learn and acclimate myself to control groups is just having very generalized control groups. So like we were just talking about. For instance, I have all my things standardized. You can do this in the settings in the Dota client. Tilde on my keyboard is all units, everything. 1 is always my hero, and 2 is always all units other than my hero. And that's across every single hero I have that binding. And so that way, if I'm playing, let's say, Beastmaster, like you brought up, or Visage, my boars or my familiars or whatever are going to be on 2 just by default, right? So I don't have to memorize different key bindings for different heroes because it's always the same. And I think like it's not exactly a fun answer, but a lot of it is just repetition. So like, for instance, for me personally, I differentiate my key bindings on illusion heroes between illusion rune illusions, manta rune illusions, and spell created illusions. So like Naga, who's probably the most complicated micro hero outside of Meepo, my key bindings, for instance, are, like I said, tilde 1, 2 are standardized, but then 3 is Manta Illusions, 4 is Illusion Rune Illusions, and then 5 is the illusions created by Mirror Image. So that like really forces you to learn it, right? Right? Because you just have so many different things. But in general, I will say, like, I just use tilde 1, 2, and then for heroes with specific things, then I'll make additional control groups just by, setting it like, control 3 while you're mousing over the hawk. Then that makes the hawk on 3, or whatever you want to use. A lot of people use the F keys for control groups.
They're too high up. I have to like snatch at them, and I never can reach them, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I can, but it's like I have to move my whole arm to get up there.
It's too much. It's too much for sure. It's too much. You know what I do when I have like a bunch of illusions? So when I play Naga, I box them all. So like, say I hit her Q that causes all the illusions. I box them all, and then if you hold shift while you're boxing them and click inside of all the selected units, you lose one every time you click. So I send them all to one camp, shift click, send them all to another camp, shift click, send them all to another camp. So every time I send them, I'm losing one that's going to another camp. And that's how I can split them quickly, which was a technique in StarCraft if you wanted to like split your Marines against Banelings or something like that. Like you'd box all your Marines and you'd send them one location, then you'd click, and then send them another location, then click, and send them another location. So you could split them really quickly, really, really fast without key bindings. So I would suggest going the Ursi route. It sounds like it's a lot less painful than doing everything manually, to be honest with you. But hey, Jimster, what micro heroes do you want to play? Like, what are you interested in playing?
Yeah, probably Beastmaster is the one I'm looking at right now, is like what I'd like to start with, probably, because I'm playing a lot of offlane. I guess I know Roland, you like Broodmother a lot, don't you?
I love Broodmother, yes.
Yeah, so eventually maybe learning how to play Broodmother, but I know she's kind of her own type of hero altogether. But yeah, just
countered.
Those
it gets so countered. I don't think she's difficult. I think any Broodmother player would say that low, like you can play her well pretty easily. To play her extremely well may take a little while. It's just there's so many heroes that do AoE shit that kill all your spiders.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. She got buffed a little. I mean, so I play a good deal of Beastmaster when I offlane, which is not rarely. But Beastmaster, for instance, my control groups with him are tilde 1-2 as my standardized, but then I use 3 for boars and 4 for hawks. And so that's kind of thing where, like, from the get-go, even if I'd never played the hero before, I would know, okay, tilde 1-2 are standardized, and then I'd make my own control groups once I'm more used to the hero for the intricate stuff. Or, like, some things are weird, too, like, some things don't get auto-selected by your preset bindings. So, like, Juggernaut Healing Ward, you have to individually tag that to something else because it will not be encompassed by the grab all other units because it's a ward. And for some dumb reason, Dota 2 doesn't like wards.
But good thing it follows you around. You know what I mean? Good thing they implemented that. That could be to your own detriment, though, in some cases. I don't know, for sure. Hey, Jim Jimster, thank you so much for coming on the show. Good question. I know a lot of people, including myself, still to this day, I want to learn how to play micro heroes too. Lone Druid I can get away with because it's only 2 things. But Beastmaster is hard because you're constantly spawning hawks, and it takes a lot of mind power to be moving those hawks in good places every time you spawn them. So
yeah, thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Of course, thank you, sir.
All
yeah,
right.
So
let's see. I'll pop into another writing question.
Do it.
Shrek2 on DVD. Since I often have these 3 things between or during Dota games, what is your favorite sandwich, dip, and beer? I will say I don't dip, but my favorite sandwich...
Dip?
Do you know? I assume you know what that is, right?
Oh, like tobacco?
Like tobacco? Yeah.
No, I think I don't know if that's what he means.
What else does dip mean?
What do you dip your sandwich in, dude? Like I dip my sandwich in au jus. My favorite.
I mean,
sandwich.
I'm not eating. Like, I'm pretty sure
you dip your gyro in tzatziki sauce, dude. Tzatziki
you don't dip it. You put it on in the first place.
You put it on, and then you dip in the tzatziki sauce. Chick-fil-A, you dip your sandwich in the Chick-fil-A sauce. Every sandwich I get, I dip it in something.
Oh my god, I don't have that's so much extra effort. You put the stuff on the thing so you don't have to dip.
Dip because it's easier and you get the perfect amount per bite.
No, I mean I disagree here. I like au jus is different because that's like a specific sandwich. But in general, if I want condiments on a sandwich, I'm not gonna put them in a thing to dip them in. I'm gonna put them on the sandwich because then it gets on the bread and gets it moist. I don't.
All right, go ahead.
I think he's talking about dip like chewing tobacco.
Go ahead and answer your question.
Favorite sandwich. This is an interesting question. If your answer is Chick-fil-A, that's gonna be disappointing. You gotta have like a specific sandwich.
It's a specific sandwich.
Okay, my go-to deli sandwich, I will say at least is roast beef with roasted peppers, onions, jalapenos, and mustard on like a wedge. That's really good. Shredded lettuce, but if it's regular lettuce, it's way worse. You got to get shredded lettuce.
Do you throw a fit on the floor if it's not in triangles?
No, it doesn't. What triangles? Nobody. What? No.
Cut your sandwich in triangles. You know what I mean?
I don't eat sandwiches on a white bread. I'm not a 6-year-old.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, it's important. So like. Honestly, this is something I was talking about somebody else. I can't remember who. But shredded lettuce is so much better than regular lettuce for no good reason. Like, I don't know why, but whenever I have a sandwich with shredded lettuce, it is infinitely better than a sandwich with, like, regular sheets of lettuce. Again, I don't know why. I know I sound like a crazy person, but this is an established thing.
You don't sound like a crazy person. People have preferences.
Yeah.
All right, what's your favorite dip?
I mean, if we're talking about dip like something you dip in, we get this at my house. You could say
the diptet, which is a shot that you get, for diphtheria.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not that. I don't dip things in things. Like if you saw me chewing tobacco, I don't chew. And like I don't, unless I'm having like a French roast, then I don't do au jus. Like I guess au jus.
All right. Wow, what an interesting question. What's the next one? Or not?
Well,
not
what's your answer?
not interesting question. Interesting answer.
Oh, and beer. There's a really good one. I don't know. I think it's regional because I haven't been able to find out the places. But Captain Lawrence is really good. That's probably my favorite of like the general beer you'd find at like stores and stuff. I like Stella Artois. Also
God.
Corona. Corona's just good.
You fucking
stuff.
posers, stop. That's not what you wanted to know. What you could buy in a gas station.
I know. So Captain Lawrence, that's a good answer.
Oh my god.
But if you can't find that stuff.
Favorite sandwich? Gonna be a pork belly banh mi. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Delicious sandwich. I just had one yesterday at an authentic Mexican restaurant, and it was on this like.
You say Mexican restaurant?
It was at a Mexican restaurant. I know banh mi is not
Vietnamese.
It's Vietnamese, but it was like it's called Mi Gusta Tacos. They're popular in like California and Nevada.
What? That sounds delicious. I'm just laughing at the name.
Mi Gusta Tacos. Anyway,
what does that mean? Who knows?
It was like a corn sandwich. It was weird. It was like a corn sandwich, cornbread with pork belly banh mi on it. It was delicious.
That sounds delicious.
Usually I get like a some sort of fish banh mi, like a cod banh mi or something like that. Favorite dip would be Red Man, just because that's the only tobacco that you put in your mouth that I know of. It's called Red Man, I believe. There are other flavors, I believe. You just kind of stick it in there and spit all day.
Yeah.
And then my favorite beer would be Lagunitas Little Something. It's a meal of a beer, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It literally is a meal of a beer. It's like 9%. And it like by the time you finish it, you're kind of like in Mortal Kombat, like spinning, just like finish him. Yeah, it's tough to get through, but once you do, it is delicious. You've got to eat like a really light meal with this heavy ass beer. It's like one of those like really, really dark beers, probably turn you brown or see.
Yeah, I'm not like I don't dislike them, but they're not my go-to when it comes to beer.
Yeah, when I was young, I didn't like the big boy beers. I went for Coronas and Boone's Farm and all those flavored. Mike's Hard Lemonade is my favorite beer.
I've never had one of those. Too much self-respect. I've turned them down before.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
I really like Bud Light with lime. I like Lagunitas Little Something. I like Lagunitas Little Anything. Lagunitas is a great brewing company. It's out of Northern California and it's delicious. So I would say Lagunitas definitely. And there's my response to that question.
Let's see.
Let's do another read.
Another quick mail-in question since we got a lot of write-ins this week. From Sauce 1200 MMR, wanting to know when you should buy a magic wand versus when to just have a magic stick. So
always a magic wand. Always. Never just
okay.
a magic stick. Always a magic wand, but get the stick first.
Why
would you waste that slot without attributes?
Okay, but here's the thing, right? Magic wand and magic stick are both incredibly good items. But if you're on a hero that's very slot starved, and if the game is not such that you're going to have a lot of charges, then you can just have stick early, and then when you need to replace it, you finish out the wand. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll have stick, and then I will keep wand in my quick buy, and if I'm about to die, I may as well spend my money, and I'll finish a wand. But if I'm in a game where I'm going to replace it quickly, I don't really want to keep the whole wand. Like, I played a PA game earlier, and I'd like PMS, Blightstone, Bottle, Phase Boots, and a TP Scroll, and I needed carry to Dust. So I was already super slot starved, and so I just had the stick. And then actually I think I ended up going to Wand. But once I built the Wand, I was like, why did I do this? Like, I can't even carry this item. This was just a waste of money. So you need to kind of weigh like how valuable is Wand in this game, which in most games is very high. But if you're a core that's going to be slot starved, just get the stick and then get rid of it later. If you're in support, they'll always buy Wand. Yeah,
and I feel like PA is like the perfect example for your point, because PA wants the Blightstone, PA wants Phase, of course, Boots. PA wants a lot of things.
I mean, there are examples.
There are other examples. No, I absolutely agree with you. But for the most part, if you're holding onto a stick for longer than like 3 minutes, those attributes, and I mean, especially, okay, so if you're 1200 MMR, you're probably finding yourself not using your stick as often as you should. If you just have a stick, it only holds 13 charges. You have a wand, it holds 17 charges. So when you finally have that aha moment that, oh my god, I've had this magic wand forever, and you have 17 charges where I think you get 10 mana per charge and 15 health per charge. It's a big deal to hit a 17 charge wand. So whereas 13 still big, but I mean it's 4 more if you get a wand and 4 attributes. To every attribute. So you got to figure that's 80 strength. That's 80 health. That's what 48 mana. It adds up and it's worth it. Yeah, and I get yelled at by Proud if I don't do it. Like,
well, wand is definitely the pick in most games, I will say. But there is some situations where just having the stick is enough.
For sure, I would agree. All right, let's read this longer one here.
Okay, we have multiple longer ones.
You pick which longer one you want to read.
Okay, from Noisy Chode. Well, I feel like Chode means something else in other places because...
Why don't you go ahead and Google it and see what Chode means other than the skin between stuff.
What are you talking about? That's not the definition. I know. Okay, anyway. Cool, because he was surprised when I was like, I'm not going to say that name often because that's like not a polite word.
I thought Chode meant... We don't need to get into it.
Yeah, I'm lost anyway. Okay. This is just anything. Okay, I had to think about this deeply because I was like, maybe it does have a different meaning other than, well, now I know. Anyway, hey again, lads. These last couple of days, I faced a lot of SK's Sand Kings in my off lane, and when I'm supporting a melee carry, he gets wrecked by OP Finale. Whatever I do, I'm only playing support Rubik at the moment, and my current MMR is 2.5k. Any pro tips to what I can do to resolve this problem? Thanks for a sweet show. All right, so. Sand King is mostly a carry problem, to be perfectly honest. Like, the carry should take a hint, right? Like, once you've taken 3 caustic finales to the face, you gotta figure out, like, oh boy, this is actually scary. I will say, the best way to deal with it, if you are solo supporting, is just to commit really hard to zoning him, and bring extra regen to lane, and then just trade with him well. Because normally they're gonna bring, like, a set of tangos and a salve to lane, or maybe a set of tangos, a salve, and a mango, and you can kind of swing it, and just harass him out of lane. If you keep level 1 Caustic at level 1, it's much more manageable. Caustic's only really a big problem when he gets to like level 2 Caustic, level 3 Caustic, level 4 Caustic. So you just kind of got to suck it up and take a bunch of damage a lot of times. If you watch, for Third Crafting Thursday, last week I believe it was, we played Sand King, or I played Sand King, so you can watch that video and just watch the first 10 minutes and I get wrecked. I feed, I do terribly. And granted, that was against a tri-lane, but the fundamentals of how to beat a Sand King are pretty well shown when I got rolled by a bunch of random pubs.
Yeah.
But it's mostly a carry problem.
No, I agree. I think that, I don't know. I've wrecked many a anti-mage, many a jug with a solo offlane Sand King where you do like a 1-0-1, a 2-0-2, a 2, or maybe like a 2-1-2 or a 3-0-2. Depending on what you want to do. Usually Sandstorm's a good thing to pick up, at least one level for the escape.
A lot of people skip ult at 6 too, so you go 303.
Yeah, like 303 or 313 by 7. I've seen it skipped all the way to 8. But if like it's especially fun in 2K or lower because you get these carries like Juggernaut or Anti-Mage or Spectre, these melee carries that they don't really understand what's happening to them because the way that they're used to seeing Sand King is this guy that like stacks camps, or at least maybe pre 7.0, but stacks camps and sandstorms camps down and comes in and stuns you or uses epicenter with a blink dagger. But if you're just like, oh, I'm laning against this little scorpion guy, okay. Then all of a sudden this green thing blows up and you're like, ouch, that kind of hurt. That's weird. And then the whole creep wave blows up and you get first blood. It's a magnificent feeling. And I feel like it's one of those heroes that people don't really understand the power of Caustic Finale. I certainly didn't for a very long time realize the power of Caustic Finale. I used to do the lane till level 3 to get 2 points in Sandstorm so I could jungle. and then I was enlightened by the caustic. So it's a good skill, and it's great against any melee core for sure.
That's for certain.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So do you want to hop to our next caller?
No, let's do a couple more questions.
Okay.
Let's get through these. We've neglected these email questions for too long.
Yes.
Now we need to get through.
All right. So Thick Boy asked a question. It's long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. But basically, he's saying, how does podcasting make money, and how would one support oneself podcasting? I just even not regarding DotP specifically, but the primary ways that podcasts make money is just through advertising and through things like Patreon. That's why we have a Patreon. Mm-hmm. Advertising, generally, the way that it works, and this is all publicly, if you look for it, this information is perfectly public on various places where people talk about it. But podcasts, generally, the way that payment structures work for advertising is per million, or it's cost per mil, but it means cost per thousand. So they'll say, we pay $20 per mil, and then if you get 6,000 downloads on that episode that has that ad, then that means you're getting 20 times 6, which is whatever, 120, right?
Nice.
So theoretically, if that were the deal, you'd be making $120 for that episode for that advertisement. And then if you sold, let's say, 3 ads on an episode and each one had that, then you'd be making $360 an episode. So it's all relative to your amount of downloads on an advertisement bearing episode.
It also depends.
Of course,
there's a lot of factors that go into it. So for those of you who filled out the demographics that we sent out, probably 6 months ago now,
it has to see how they changed.
Yeah, it would be funny to see how they changed. I'm sure not by a ton, but
it
depends on the market that you're into. I mean, if we were just some broad podcast, it's to use Defense of the Patients, for example, it'd be harder for advertisers to hone in. But when you're doing just the video game podcast, it's, we're not going to advertise lawn care on our show. I'm not going to say we won't, but
we will if they pay us.
Yeah, but I mean, this is where advertisers say, hey, look, they if you look at any Dota tournament, look at who the advertisers are. They usually have to do with computers and computer peripherals. So that's how you make money. Also, with podcasters, if you look at any of the big ones, it's not just one revenue source. Like Ursi said, it's a multitude of revenue sources, whether it be subscriptions to their own thing, similar to our Patreon exclusives, where you can pay $1 and get an episode that you can download, or just straight donations. Just they get creative with how they make money, because a lot of the time advertising isn't going to cut it. But you've got to have quite the following to make a living wage off of podcasting, for sure.
I just wanted to make mention real quick for Thick Boy's comments.
Okay.
He was also more curious about how we specifically are making money. And obviously we aren't making a lot of money yet.
Stealing from the government. I've never felt better about it. But yeah, I'm just kind of collecting, a bunch of checks under a bunch of different names and hoping I don't get caught anytime soon.
Lots of dead people that the government doesn't know are actually dead yet that we're getting Social Security from.
Yeah. I mean, and it's all routing to my bank account. It's pretty sweet. So
if you go to us specifically, we would just say Patreon. That is our source of income as of now. But in general, podcasting, the way that it works is you have a lot of different revenue sources, and then they all add up to something hopefully significant, right?
And of course, in investors and when you start a business, there's a bunch of different ways to get there. So, yeah, that's an interesting question. To be honest, if you listen to the Patreon exclusive episode, we get into it. If it's something that you just want to start and just, quit your job within a year, I wish you the best of luck.
It is not a get-rich-quick scheme.
No,
for certain.
It's actually a get-rich very, very, very slowly scheme.
And not rich.
Get
living wage very, very slowly.
Try and get a living wage within 5 years. But, of course, if you're creative, which I think to be able to sit and bullshit with, Ursi, you gotta be creative. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you just get creative with things. I don't know. It's more, we all here at Defense of the Patients understand that this is I don't know how to say this, but like a dream that is couched with reality. That we know that this is very much so going to be supplementary income for a very long time before we can ever turn this into maybe a full-time thing. But we are optimistic, and if trends hold and you guys are awesome and continue to be awesome, then yes, we might be able to see living wages for a very small staff. Now, compare that to Beyond the Summit, places like that. They have a huge staff and bring in huge amount of people. So it's kind of like, one of those math problems with a proportional triangle, and it's like figure out the hypotenuse. That's kind of where we fit in, if you got my weird math analogy.
I did not at all.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Let's do. Let's take the caller. So we've got Kuma. He is climbing, and he has a question for us. Kuma, what is your question?
Hey guys, today I've got an item idea. Not necessarily specific, but before I go on and talk about it, I have to give some kudos where it's due. Professor Chaos and I just finishing up the exact schematics of what the item would be made of, but I have the idea. So, the name between us is called Ice Thorn, and it's similar to Bloodthorn, but instead of the active being crit and extra damage, and the silence, it would be maybe a silence, I'm not sure, but an active that would burn mana based on damage taken. What are your thoughts on that?
That's cool. It'd have to be cheap.
Medusa would become unplayable.
Yeah, it would hurt a lot of heroes for sure.
That's interesting. I mean, so what were the components you were thinking of?
Diffusal and Orchid, or Diffusal and Crystallis, rather.
Oh,
okay. I mean,
like
one of the core issues whenever they add items, or I imagine whenever they're theory crafting, like at Valve, items to add or to not add, is when you're combining items, you don't want to create too much of a value, right? So like Bloodthorn is that's like a really way good item, because Crystallis is a very valuable item, and Orchid is a very valuable item. So if you were to combine two things, that'd be a little good. So like if you were to combine Diffusal Blade and Crystallis, that might be a bit strong, although it would be expensive, so maybe that'll balance it out. I would say it really depends, because it sounds like it would just super hard counter like a couple heroes, and that would be concerning, because if they can get out of it too easily or dodge it with, like, let's say a Lincoln's or a Manta, then it would become kind of obsolete, similar to Bloodthorn against certain heroes, right? Like Bloodthorn's super good, but in certain matchups it's like, yeah, well, why am I going to Bloodthorn the Medusa? She's just going to use Manta. Or why am I going to Bloodthorn the Storm? He has a Lincoln's and a Yule's. So
what if it had only so many charges? Like that'd be cool.
That would suck, because like I'm already kind of making the items sound bad. But if you added in, I don't know, like a lot of things, like, so for instance, the reason why an item like Sheepstick is really good is because you can not Manta it off, because you can dodge with Lincoln's, let's say, or it could be dispelled. But if it's on you, it's on you. And an item like Orchid is a little more finicky, and that's why it's cheaper, right? Because Orchid you can get rid of with Yule's, with Manta, etc. So I think that's what you have to be concerned about, right? So if it's too expensive, it loses its luster, so to speak. It's interesting. I mean, I'm always down for new items. I think if I were thinking about that item, if it's Diffusal and Crystallis, it'd maybe be really good on Anti-Mage, because you just pop somebody, and even though you don't get Diffusal as like the effect, your ability to just drop all their mana really quickly and then pop them with your ult would be ridiculous. That would be interesting. Other than that, like, I think it'd just be a Medusa counter, right?
Yeah, or Wraith King. Counter. Could you imagine? I mean, I find that all too often where it's if we have no Diffusal carrier, it's okay. Somebody get Necro, and Necro usually isn't a great. It would be cool if it was. I mean, if it wasn't too much mana, but still burning mana, because we don't have too many things that do that.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it could be cool just to add an extra flavor to counter like casters. So, like Zeus, for instance. Zeus, as he builds all his items, he has a huge mana pool, but his regenerative ability is not tremendous during a fight. So if you use, let's say, ult and then Ags and then Refresher and then you ult and then you throw another Ags down. I don't even know if Ags can double up. But if you're using a bunch of things, you get low pretty quickly, and he's not meant to sustain long fights in the late game. So hypothetically, in this kind of situation, if you did have a hero like, I don't know, let's say a PA, and she jumped on a Zeus, used this item, and brought him down to, half mana, let's say, he has 1,000 mana left, he's not going to be able to do sustained damage in a fight.
I have an idea.
Which would be interesting. Like, you wouldn't even have to kill the person, they would just be gimped.
I have an idea. You know Timbersaw's Q, how it takes strength away? It takes stats, whatever, away.
Yeah, Whirling Death.
Whirling Death. What if it had an effect like that, where like it, bam, takes your mana away for a time, and then your mana comes back? That'd be cool. So like you need to use it at the right time. Like Orchid, you have to use it at the right time. Sheep, you have to use it at the right time.
Whirling Death actually does reduce your mana if you are an intelligence hero. Fun
Sure,
fact.
but like what, something like that.
Yeah, or like a Slark. Like, how many times have you died because a Slark, like, you're about to do something, and then Slark's like, oh, goodbye 12 mana.
Like anti-mage or something, and you're just like, oh no, I can't blink. I was in the animation, but he took away my mana. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, Roland, my thought to that, whereas if you just use this item on a caster and then they can't use anything because they can't use mana, isn't that what silencing is?
That is
Kind of.
what silencing is, but there are also free things that you can do, like Phoenix's, a lot of Phoenix abilities. 2 of Phoenix's abilities are free. They just take health. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
yeah, so for the vast majority of heroes, it would effectively just be a silence. But for some heroes that, it wouldn't be.
so-
Like Bloodseeker's Q doesn't take any mana.
So, what if... Okay, so let's... I guess I'll add, just before we close this question, I want to add one little stipulation. What if you had an item like, let's say, Orchid plus Crystallis, and you cast it on somebody, and it made all of their things cost health instead of mana for like a span of 5 seconds. So not like they're not silenced, let's say, but they have to then either not think and accidentally do a lot of damage to themselves, or they have to then make the conscious decision like, okay, I'm playing Zeus, I want to ult, instead of costing me 675 mana, it's going to cost me 675 health. Can I weigh that? Like,
Now you're thinking. That
would be bizarre.
That's a good idea.
That would be the most annoying item in the world to play against, but that would be interesting.
People said that about Octarine. People said that about all sorts of items. Hey,
I
Kuma,
suppose.
of course, thank you always for your thought-provoking questions. They're always fun to. I don't feel like we answer them. I feel like we just spitball with you on your. I don't even know if you're calling in and asking a question. You're calling in and like presenting an idea.
No, just getting insights all I wanted to get. So thank you guys.
Hey, thank you.
Yep.
All right, we're running short on time, so let's get through these live callers. Next up, we have Professor Chaos. He is a 2K player. Professor Chaos, what is your question?
What's up, guys? So today, I was wondering what some of your favorite hero sets and hero items are.
Oh boy, that's a good question. So one of the things I'm always impressed with is people that know how to like they can name an item set like by the name. I'm always impressed with that because I'm terrible with names.
Okay.
I'm very proud of my cosmetics though, I'll say that. I'll say my favorite set that I don't own is probably the Dark Claw Emissary set, which is the very expensive Dazzle set. That set's really cool. Wish I had spent like $100 on it back in the day because now it's like $300. That's a good one. I'm really proud of my Invoker set, honestly. That's one of my more expensive ones. I use a nice mix of things for that one. I use the Heaven Piercing Pauldrons with the Dark Artistry Cape, and then the Mage's Apex headpiece. I'm pretty happy with that. I think my last and final answer would be, of course, the pride of my pride and joy. Jumo the Courier is definitely the one item I could not live without in Dota 2. I'm so proud of this courier. God bless America. Or Korea, because that's where the courier's from. Just by coincidence. It's great. It's perfect. I love it more than anything I own in my positions.
Yeah, I want the blue sword for Sven, the expensive blue sword. It's called like the Shattered Great Blue Sword.
Shattered Greatsword, I think.
Shattered.
That's also
Greatsword.
Korean. A lot of the really nice items are from the Korean, what's it called?
It's a sweet item. Not gonna lie, I want the skeleton punch hook. Whatever that is. I really want that.
I had 3 of those at one point. The Dragon Claw hook. I used to be into trading. Like back like in beta when it was actually profitable, and then I stopped being into it, and I got rid of all my time breakers and hooks and stuff. Those were the days.
I definitely also want the Faceless Void Chronosphere. What else? There's some really cool Slark sets. There's a Slark piece that's really cool. I wish I wouldn't have given my golden anti-mage blades away to Wazoo. Basically everything I've loved I've given away, because if you love it, you should set it free.
No, you should hoard.
You should hoard. Okay. I've got it. I think... God, that's hard, man. I want Pipe of Dazoon. That's for sure. Choice. Pipe of Dazoon. And it was just being passed around. Joy Thief gave it to Easy Marquise way back in the day, not knowing that this was some super rare thing. And now it's just sitting on some vacant account.
Yeah, I was lamenting this to a friend of mine recently.
What about you, Mr. Chaos?
So my 2 favorite sets that I own are the Wrath of Ka set from Necro, which makes him kind of look like Anubis.
Oh yeah, that one's sweet.
Oh yeah.
And then I think my absolute favorite set I own is the Abaddon Mark of the Mistral Fiend set from the Sculptor's Pillar treasure. It gives you that like elk and the like pole arm and kabuki mask.
Yeah, dude.
Yes, I used to use that set. I think I still use pieces of it. Abaddon has so many cool sets though. Like
there's a lot of heroes like that. Like even though I don't play Doom, he's got a bunch of sweet sets too.
Yeah. That's kind of the unfortunate reality that we live in now, is that there's too many cool sets. You gotta like pick and choose.
Yeah,
I think the coolest set I've seen though, honestly, is the new Disruptor set. Like that thing is just so awesome.
Oh, it's so fucking cool.
It's really
How much is it?
Last time I checked, it was like $84.
Yeah, I think it was like 100 as of today.
I love my golden jug set too.
That one's expensive now. That one's like,
really?
I think it was 140 last time I checked. Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna sell that and get the Disruptor set. I don't even play Juggernaut.
And you should give it to me.
Oh.
Actually, I don't want it. I'm gonna buy I'm pretty happy with my jug set, and I'm gonna buy the Arcana too. So like, I don't know. I don't want the gold set until the Arcana comes out, because I don't want to buy the gold set and then the Arcana.
Maybe I should sell the gold set now. Because what if the Arcana just blows it the fuck out of the water?
No, the gold set is only going to appreciate, right? They're not releasing any new ones, and it's going to become out of, like, you won't be able to get it pretty soon. And so gradually it's just going to increase in value.
Okay, I'm going to hold on to it then.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, it's pretty.
Well, hey, thank you. That was definitely thought-provoking. If anybody wants to donate one of those skeleton hook claws, dragon claw hooks, I will land mad hooks with it, and then I'll have Puppy send me back to base on Chen. And it'll be a hilarious moment where Loda gets mad. Thank you, Professor Chaos.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Okay, our next caller is Mr. Fancy Pants or Extravagant Trousers. His MMR is 16,684. What, sir, is your question?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No.
Great. I'm using the mobile app, so this is interesting.
Awesome.
So, there has been a lot of talk on your about party MMR not being as legit as solo MMR, and that it doesn't really matter. So I'm curious what's up with that.
It doesn't really matter to me. I'm not saying it doesn't really matter, but it doesn't really matter. But it doesn't really matter to me. But sorry,
is that the end of your question?
No, I've got a whole write up. I don't have to.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to just like bam in there, but I did.
You always do.
I do.
So, as a team game, the most viable heuristic for overall skill, as I see it, is how well a solid team of 5 can perform. In solo games, the team with the strongest player on the most snowbally hero typically wins. But that doesn't mean that solo games have a strong skew against certain playstyles and heroes. For example, Io's abysmal win rate. Proud and Ursinity have both described solo MMR as not a true measure of how good you are at Dota, but rather as a measure of how good you are at winning games as a solo player. Couldn't you then extrapolate that reasoning to suggest that party MMR is a measure of how good you are at coordinating with other people as a means to win? Solo MMR is definitely a strong indicator of mechanical skill, But couldn't it be argued that party MMR is similarly imperfect but accurate marker of overall skill in Dota that more heavily weights communication and teamwork as your measure of overall good at Dota-ness?
Okay, before Ursi goes, what's your solo MMR?
My solo MMR is 1080.
1084? Is that what I heard? 1081? Yeah, mine's 3700, so I'm better than you.
Yes.
Thank you, Roland.
And that is pretty much why we appreciate our solo MMR more than we appreciate our party MMRs, because I can quantifiably say, hey, what's your MMR? And you're like, oh, it's this, and mine is this plus that. I feel like Dota is the biggest, like, oh, really? You think you're good? Well, I'm way better than that, because here, check it out, my number. I completely agree with you. I think the best way to quantify your ability in the game would be, how far do you go in a qualifier? How far do you go in a tournament? I think it would be cool if we saw more party MMRs and full party, not just duos, because the issue here, Fancy Pants, is you get a lot of people. Denny and I use the same tactic where, like, we'd play Bristleback Coddle, and it was unfair. It would snowball the Bristleback faster than a snowball hero would in a solo game. And so we would climb massive amounts of MMR really quickly. Alternatively, I could queue with Ursi, where Ursi plays core, I play support. The average is brought down because I'm 2K and he's 4K, so the average is at 3K. 4K is way better than 3K. 3K is better than 2K, but I'm just playing a support. I'm listening to Ursi, and once again, we can inflate MMR. Solo, you are surrounded by peers that are of your MMR that you have to work with, and you also have to communicate with. So it's a measure not only of your personal skill, but also of your ability to work with others. Now, I know that you're playing in a lower, you're playing like below 2K and in the 2Ks. And yes, a lot of the time, you're going to win based off of a snowball, somebody snowballing. You're going to get some Storm Spirit mid that just gets too many Bloodstone charges and you win the game. But I feel like that is not necessarily true for every solo game. Matter of fact, recently it's been an uphill climb, to say the very least, to get plus 25 MMR in my solo queue, because there are so many factors that go into it. The teamwork factor, the trying to calm down the raging guy factor, the having a good attitude factor, the being competent on your hero factor. So as I agree with you that, yes, I think that if we were doing 5v5s constantly, it would be a more true to your skill, especially to your role, MMR. The party system is flawed, and we can exploit it very easily.
Yeah. So right. I'm gonna not insult our lovely question asker from the get-go, but I'll say, regardless of MMR bracket, the main reason I value solo MMR and don't really care for party MMR, and again, I will add a very important caveat from the beginning that obviously neither is a perfect way to gauge skill, but if I had to choose one or the other to, like, if somebody gave me both their party and their solo MMR, I would probably either average the two or just take the solo at face value. But of course, both systems are flawed. I will say the issue with party MMR, kind of like Roland hinted at, is there are too many ways to exploit the party MMR system. And I think I could see a world where if the party MMR system was a little better balanced, it would be feasibly a more valuable metric to gauge skill. But as it is now, like Roland gave probably the easiest example of how to exploit party MMR. Actually, I give two easy ways to exploit it. So my MMR right now is, I think, 4608 or something like that. So I could find something that's 2608. We could both play, and I could just go mid every game and play a snowball hero like you brought up, and then I could just win every game. We could exploit basically that difference, because the other team on average is going to have, let's say we average.
You exploit the average. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it averages a 3,200, let's say the enemy team's mid is also doing this and they're 4K. I mean, I'm going to be able to wreck this 4K guy in, 19 out of 20 games and then just snowball, and like it's plus 25 for both of us, and that's just how it is, right? Like you can pretty easily change things that way, and that's one of the core issues with it. The other big way to exploit party MMR is just to find a 5-stack and run the same strat over and over and over again, right? So to use an example, Roland back like whatever it was, like 6 months ago, they had that level 1 Roche strat, and you guys easily could have climbed 500 MMR with that. Easily 500. Probably more than that.
I don't know. We stomped it in the in-house.
Yeah, well,
they
that's
did,
the thing.
but it wasn't the exact kit. There was a Vengeful in there was a Luna in there that we didn't have in the in-house. I was just coming up with an impromptu Roshan level 1.
And Roche level 1 is much worse nowadays than it used to be.
But we did win like 10 games in a row. I think our longest game was 20 minutes. So and we didn't lose with it.
Another very simple example is if you play all pick reasonably, they're not going to ban all the heroes that you need. So you can run, like, let's say you have a Meepo player that you're friends with, you can run some good Meepo strat every single game, and since profiles aren't visible automatically anymore, like, they're not going to figure it out, and you can just run, like, okay, we're going to pick Ember Spirit and Meepo, and all the counters to Meepo are not counters to Ember Spirit and vice versa. So, like, they're gonna pick because we first picked Ember Spirit, counter that, but we have already decided 20 minutes ago that we're going to play a Meepo strat, or we're going to run a push strat, like, back like TI4 era when it was running these like Death Prophet push strats. In any regular pub, right, you're gonna have like, if you come in with a strategy and the other team is just 5 friends playing, you're just gonna win all the time. So that's why I value solo MMR much higher as a metric, right? Because solo MMR, while it has flaws and there are some ways to exploit the system, in general, it is everybody on an even playing field in that everybody has no clue who the other people are, and you're all similarly disadvantaged in that, and you don't know, whether your guy's gonna rage or whether the enemy is gonna rage, and who's gonna feed down mid, and like who's gonna pick a good team comp, and who's gonna have 5 cores. And so, while there are problems, of course, with solo MMR, I will say there are. It is very simple. Right, like it's just everybody's alone, and obviously there is that awful problem that duo queues are in solo MMR. I think everybody can agree that is stupid and that should not be a thing. But alas, that's basically my thoughts. Is solo MMR, while not a perfect system and while a very frustrating system, is still a better gauge of skill because everybody is just on an even playing field. Every game of it, you are alone. You're not playing with your 5k friend while you're 3k, or you're not playing with your 1k friend while you're 3k. You are just sent out into the masses and forced to play Dota 2. But I do think, you raise good points, right? Like both systems have their flaws. I just think that solo queue is a much better system overall. Yeah. And there are like personal differences too. Not to cut you off, Roland, but
no, in a perfect world, he's right. Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, he's absolutely right. The party would be a better gauge.
To use examples, of course, if you know somebody, that's the best way to gauge their skill, of course. But so there are people that I know that only play party MMR, like Fancy Pants, for instance. Your party MMR is what, like 1600, I assume. That's what you said. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I knew you, like that would make sense, right? If I knew, like, okay, Fancy Pants, he only plays party, like he doesn't play solo, then solo becomes a pretty useless gauge of your individual skill. But if it's somebody I don't know and they just said, oh, I'm 1600 solo, or I'm 1600 party and I'm 1000 solo, I'd probably say, well, they're probably ballpark 1400, because like party, you don't know if you're 1600 party because of you playing duo queue and having it be completely fair, or if it's because you're playing 5 stacks and you're running the same strat over and over again and cheesing, right? So unless I know somebody specifically just never plays solo MMR, like Nameless Noob, who's a pretty prominent community member, he only plays party MMR and unranked. He never plays solo MMR, so his solo MMR isn't even calibrated, but his party MMR is like 2500 or whatever. So you can ballpark like this is a decent metric of his skill because I know he like plays in that area. So really, like, and you're right.
If he was much better than 2500 or a lot better than, say, it was a 4K player, I mean, you would see that his party MMR would thusly climb because he would be snowballing and the people he's playing with would, So it is a gauge, definitely a gauge of how good you are. I used to only go by my party because I never played solo because I always played with Denny and Andrew, or Denny and Cyphus and Wazoo. That's when I hit 2K for the first time. It was not in solo; it was in party, and I'm a 2K player. Fuck yeah! So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'll say probably my last comment on this, and not a comment that I think you'll hear a lot on the Thursday show, if you've listened for a while, or our streams, is that if you get above 4K party, it is an absolute mess. Like, above 4K party is just like a crapshoot, right? Like, when we used to do Hakuna Marana practice back when we were averaging like 4,500 party MMR, almost every game there was somebody that was like 6K. Like, maybe every other game. Every game was probably an exaggeration. Because party MMR past 4K is an absolute crapshoot. Like, you get 6K players all the time that have like 4,700 party MMR or 4,800 or 4,200. And same thing, like, if you go to streamers like really any miscellaneous streamer that's like a 7K player, there is almost no 7K players that have 6K party MMR. That's just unheard of. Like, all of them are going to have like 5K party MMR, let's say. So the higher you get, the more absolutely guaranteed arbitrary party MMR gets. Like, that is like a minority problem, I'll say, but that is probably the best example, I'll say, of why party MMR is just absolutely nonsense at high MMRs. Like, it's really just, I cannot impress that opinion or that fact enough that you look at like any 8K player, they're not going to have 8K party MMR. I'll tell you that much. But they're still an 8K player.
Well, your point has been impressed, sir.
Yeah. Or like the 10K party MMR guy. I don't know if you guys know the 10K MMR party MMR guy, but he just botted his way up because you can do that with party MMR if you are dedicated. There's a guy that has 10,000. Actually, I think there's like a few of them that have 10,000 party MMR because you can just bot accounts and like work your way up. And like, because that's kind of stuff you could do with party MMR if you're dedicated to arbitrary numbers on the internet.
I think we all are.
As we all are.
Yeah, I think we all are. Miss Fancy Pants or Extravagant Trousers, I like both of your monikers.
Right, it's fantastic.
It's a nice theme.
I also take pristine pantaloons.
Pantaloons. Thank you. That was a great question. And I wasn't meaning to like be rude earlier. I was just saying like that is.
Oh no, that's fine. I totally accept that you are better than me.
No, that's the reason. Like, I may not be better than you, but my number is bigger, and so I'm better than you. If you get what I'm saying. Like, and so many times do I see this. Like, I mean, even when I play my solo ranked, there's the 3,800 Shadow Fiend, and I'm 3,780. And this Shadow Fiend knows he's the highest MMR. It showed on there. And he's talking like he is. And I very well may be better than him. He very well may be better than me. But we're within 20 MMR of each other. Like, quantifiably, it's null, basically, who's better than one another. So
that's one game difference.
Yeah, exactly. So really it comes down to I'm 4K and you're 2K type thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And taking pride in the fact that my number is like way bigger than yours. Yeah. So
I just thought it was funny because you came off like the most abrasive way you could have possibly come off.
Well, that's always how it comes across to me, and that's what pissed me off, and that's why I wanted to recalibrate to be like, hey, guys, what? Like, I'm 3.5K too. Fuck you guys. Like, I enjoyed playing in the jungle, but if I want to fucking, farm and whatever, I can be 3.5K too. Because there was a good old boys club going on in DotP with all the 4K bitches, and I meant the word bitches, who think that they know everything about the game because they got 4K, and they're not cool. I'll tell you that much.
When you hit 4K, you're gonna become that person. I swear.
Well, it probably will happen. I've already become that person. You'll get humbled
eventually.
I'm just saying that like it's more of like an attitude shift. Like if you have the number to back you, then like you feel vindicated. Like I am way better than you, even though you could be like a goddamn awesome, I don't know, Meepo player, but you haven't played Meepo in a while, and your Meepo is way better than mine. It's weird. It's hard to judge skill in this game, but we definitely love to judge our skill. That can go without saying. Anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Fancy Extravagant Trousers, and you have a great rest of the night. I'm gonna go eat sushi.
I'm jealous.
You know what? I literally am going to go eat sushi after this too. I'm gonna go to my spot. Jealous. I'm gonna go get some Gaikiken and a Sapporo and a green monster. And then Ohana fried rice, which is steak, which is shrimp, which is ham, which is every type of meat in the best fried rice you've ever had. Can't wait. We're going to have a great night, you and I, across the country, eating sushi at similar times.
Our hearts are bonded through Dota and food.
Make sure you look up at the moon, and we're both looking at the same one, okay?
Okay.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Goodbye, my sweet.
Goodbye.
Good night. All right.
All right, let's close this show. You can find us, or rather, don't find us at defenseofthepatients.com because it is being built right now and it looks kick-ass already. It's almost finished. Big shout out to somebody we're not going to shout out until it's done because I want the unveiling to be properly done. But Denny, Cyphus, and I, as well as Ursi and Proud, if they were interested, can go see the progress so far on our website. It looks beautiful. It's excellent. I'm really looking forward to it going live and finally, putting away our website that predates the year 2000. Yes. Twitch, of course, where we are now. But for those of you that are listening in your car, on your commute, wherever you're going, twitch.tv/.ptv. Of course, Patreon, the Patreon exclusive episode. I know I've mentioned it throughout this, but this is the best way to help us right now. For $1, you can get a 2-hour-long episode, and then there will be another episode released in 1 week from today, a Patreon exclusive. It's at the 15th of every month, and the last day of every month we will release a Patreon exclusive episode. There is no donation threshold, although there are different gifts you can get from us for the more you donate. But we just want you to hear our content. We appreciate you going there.
We're close to 500 too, which means the 6-hour monthly stream.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Miscellaneous .p stuff.
Yeah, so we are right now, as it stands, we are $441 per month. At $500 per month, we are going to have a 6-hour fun stream where we're going to do fun things. So please, please, please donate whatever you can. Don't go to Sushi like Extravagant Trousers. Donate to us. You'll get 2 hours of entertainment where he's just going to gobble up that sushi, and we all know what happens later. So, without any further ado, do you want to plug anything else? iTunes reviews. We have a ton of them. iTunes just did this new thing where they don't sort it by date. So we have all these new... Annoying. It's incredibly annoying. So where we used to be able to find them very easily, now they're interspersed between all of our reviews. So we're going to have to actually prepare to read the reviews on air. So what?
Should I be rolling a dice?
Huh?
Should I be rolling a dice today for our caller thing?
Say again?
Should I be rolling a dice to give away our Steam?
Yes.
Yes. I want to make sure you didn't forget. All right.
No, I'm just joking. You can roll a D4. So
yeah.
$20 Steam Cash money every time you call in. As you can see, this is yet to be scratched. I don't just hold up, the same one. Actually, this is cool. This is how much Steam money we gave away in the month of... I guess this might include some of January, but this is over $500 in Steam gift cards that we have given away to the community. So we really appreciate you guys' support, and I do give them away semi-frivolously. So.
Yeah, we are aware. I have a dumb question. I just rolled the D4, and it's the number on the top, right? It's the number on the top, right? Yeah, of the little pyramid one. I feel like an idiot right now, but I have not rolled a D4 in so long.
What does it say on top?
3.
Is there any other way you could read that?
No, but I could read both bottom numbers.
Okay.
It could be the 14th.
Is the right way to read a D4 is the number you can read on all sides.
Yeah.
If it's the right side up on all sides.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I was like 90% sure, but I didn't want to say like, oh, number 4 won, and then be like, oh god, no, never mind, it was number 3.
Well, Mr. Fancy Pants, you just won $20, my friend. Thank you so much for calling in to Defense of the Patients Tuesday Q&A. This is Roland for Ursinity saying you have questions, and we like to deliberate with you and hopefully come up with an answer.
I like that outro. That was good.
Thank you.